Hello, everyone. I am here to present the Precaution Adoption Process Model, PAPM, prepared by Kristen White, Dorothy Suku, and Amanda Penton. Here is an infographic showing a breakdown of the PAPM. PAPM is a psychologically focused model that is most useful in describing how a person comes to a new decision and how that person can take the decision and make it become an action. This infographic includes a brief history, breakdown of the stages, and an example of the using the PMPM process. We will discuss each of these in greater detail throughout the presentation. The Precaution Adoption Process Model, or PMPM, is a stage theory which seeks to address and identify the qualitative reasons a person comes to a decision to take action, as well as how that decision is translated into action. This approach to explaining health behaviors offers several benefits, including the possibility for greater accuracy, greater intervention effectiveness, and greater intervention efficiency. There are four principal elements to a stage theory: defined stages with boundaries for separation, ordered stages citing the typical flow of user text throughout the model, common barriers to change that link individual in each stage, as well as barriers separating individuals existing in different stages. The PMPM was first recorded and being discussed in 1977 by Irving Janis and Leon Mann. Later proposals were presented in 1988 with the final formulation coming to be in 1992, which is the same formulation as used today. With the precaution adoption process model, there exist 7 stages an individual moves through. In the first stage, a person is unaware of an issue's existence. From here, a person moves into stage 2, where they are aware of an issue's existence and may formulate their own opinions, but are not engaged with the issue. Stage 1 and 2 are primarily driven and affected by the media and their portrayals of any specific issues. Next, a person moves into stage 3, where they are now aware and engaged of an issue, but undecided on if they will act. From here, they can move to stage 4, not acting, or stage 5, where they will choose to act. Should one choose not to act and enter stage 4, they will finish their path within the model. The decision to enter stage 4 or 5 is primarily driven by one's belief regarding the severity and risk behind an issue, susceptibility, precaution, effectiveness, and perceived social norms. Should an individual enter stage 5 and choose to act, they will then move into stage 6, where they are actively acting on the issue within this stage. PAPM suggests that while detailed implementation information is uninteresting to those in early stages, it's pertinent information to those who have decided to act in stage 6. Finally, an individual enters stage 7, which is a maintenance stage. While stage 6 involves one-time action, stage 7 focuses more on repeated and sustained action to address an issue. An individual can move both forward and backwards within the model, and there's no defined period of time an individual must remain in any individual stage. PMPM is utilized to develop and evaluate behavior change interventions. To implement these, there are 5 steps that can be followed to achieve success. The first step in this process is to identify and define behavior of interest. PMPM focuses on the adoption of specific health behaviors such as cholesterol testing or broader health behaviors such as increasing exercise. Once the health behavior is defined, the second step is to classify individuals based on their current stage in the PMPM model. This classification can then be applied to the target population being evaluated. Third, an understanding must be gained on the factors that influence transition between the individual stages of the PAPM. This knowledge will help guide intervention strategies and help focus recommendation to increase adoption of new behaviors. The fourth step involves addressing variables associated with different stage transitions. Moving from one stage to the next may involve the need for increased knowledge or skills, and interventions should be prepared to address any barriers an individual faces in moving forward in the PMPM process. Lastly, evaluation program need to be prepared to determine how to evaluate the effectiveness of the program and the time frame determined to follow up assessment. This review will allow for increased understanding of the PMPM process and make any needed changes for increased success in future implementations. The primary constructs of the precaution adoption process model is unrealistic optimism. This is underestimation of the risk due to the underestimation of strategies others use to protect themselves and stereotyping others perceived at higher risk. Health educators can normalize risk by comparing standards, so an absolute and normative standards or the risk to others. Unrealistic optimism is part of the personalizing risk. Consciousness raising, specifying consequences, or the risk using probability descriptions and scenario-based risk information to decrease underestimation of risk. The second construct of the PAPM is perceived susceptibility. This has to do with the perception of risk and ties into unrealistic optimism. Perceived susceptibility ties into stage 2, aware but no thoughts to act. And stage 3, weighing pros and cons, considering precautions. The individual is thinking about change, and the susceptibility to risk is formed by communication with others and personal experiences to the hazard. Risk information is showing promise in combination with behavior recommendations to motivate the individuals to act and acquire the skills to do so. This further encourages promoting awareness related to risk and outcome expectation. Minor study evaluated the perception of protective technologies to decrease the halt and utilization and adoption of safe working practices. 21 minors and 19 managers were interviewed. The interview revealed that targeting stage 3, the undecided to act, is most important to promote progression to stage 5 while avoiding stage 4, deciding not to act. It showed that managerial staff need to cease assuming minors understand perceived risk and provide communication education and training around risk-based strategies to timely and adequately incorporate safety technology. For example, those in the study, stage 3 were frustrated with technology, and those in stage 4 did not like the inconvenience of new technology. And stage 5 appreciated the benefit of technology and were used to using it already. With technology tailoring messages of what stage the individuals can highly influence the workers' movement between early stages. This can help organizational management to utilize PAPM to understand how to tailor messages about protective technology, provide skill-based training, and raise awareness to encourage the adoption of safe practices. This second case study was the first time the precaution adoption process model was used in the adolescent population and utilized assessing risk, reducing of cyberbullying. The model was used to evaluate adolescents' self-protective behavior to secure their electronic environments and also seek to explain adolescents' lack of precaution through the concepts of optimistic bias. Evidence is mounting that cyberbullying is rising. In 7th grade, 68% of the students acknowledge cyberbullying as a serious problem, and 69% say it is as serious or worse than in-person bullying. Optimistic bias is the belief that bad things happen to other people. Of the participants in the study, 7 to 16% were in stage 1, unaware of a problem. Half of the participants were stage 2, aware of a problem but not thinking to act. And no participants were in stage 5, decided to act but not yet acted. Any student that took protective action, blocked abusive peer or reported abuse, ended up stopping using social media. An adolescent's progress through the stages, optimistic bias diminishes. This research tells us anti-bullying programs need to focus more on critical thinking to assist students in advancing from stage 2 to understand the evident dangers of cyberbullying and connect with resources in the community. Real-world examples: Crisis Center North Prevention Precaution Education Program integrated optimistic bias into their curriculum, a noted short and long-term reduction in perceptual bias. Some of the benefits of the PMPM is the ability to promote risk-reducing behaviors, whereby people take precautionary action to reduce the perceived risk, and positive outcome expectancies, which increases as individual moves up the stages of the model. The identified drawbacks of this model are: the model tend to focus on a single threat or preventive response. Also, there are transition barriers such as cost, time, and energy that can cause difficulties to move people from one stage to the next. Referring to the construct of perceived susceptibility, the PMPM was able to assess the distribution of intervention stages and help mind workers to move from stage 2 to 7 of acceptance of the new preventive technology. In addition, the use of PMPM evaluated the different perceptions of mind workers towards the new technology and the acknowledgement of individual perceptions. A PMPM state theory suggested that there's a variation of behavior when moving people from stage to stage, which can be a barrier to the transition process. Also, protection measures related factors such as time, money, and skills required to implement this stage model usually interfere on individuals' decision not to act proactively. An alternative to the theory of precaution adoption process is protective motivational theory, which explains that people protect themselves based on two factors: threat appraisal, which explains the severity of a problem, and coping appraisal, which explains how people respond to a situation. The PMT represents a useful social cognitive model of individuals' motivation to engage in protective behaviors. The PMT could be applied to the studies as the minor study to provide education to the individual workers about the new mine safety and health technology. And this is the end of our presentation. Thank you.